I would like to present my data visualization project. It's about GSS bonds in Indonesia market. Indonesia needs a high amount of financing to achieve the level of nationally determined contribution for emission mitigation in 2030. So one instrument to achieve this goal is green social and sustainability bonds. Currently, as we see here, GSS bonds still dominate Indonesia financial market for bonds instruments. If we compare by instrument as well, so the majority of bonds and sukuk issued by company, the corporation, is now in GSS bonds. And also we can observe here that for the last 3 years, for example, the green bonds, it grows from 3.73 trillion in 2021. Now in 2024, it reaches 41.63 trillion. Not only the amount of GSS bonds outstanding, but also the amount of issuer is also increases. In general, for all GSS bonds, we can also see this growth as well, from 99 entities to 112 entities. The top issuer sector, if we can see here, is the banking sector. So they use the bond they issue to finance green projects, and also the government, because they want to finance the green pipeline in their development planning. That's from the supply side. From the demand side, we can also see that GSS bonds has become the interest of investors. As we see that the majority of GSS bonds investors are institutional investors. So we can see in mutual fund, insurance, pension fund, and financial institutions. They manage fund as part of their business process. However, as the data indicates, the amount of investment from this institutional fund is fluctuating because they use it for portfolio management. When compared to individual investors, it keeps rising from 2021 to 2024. When you can also explore the preferences of its investors here, we can explore by the ownership percentage of total outstanding value. It is the preference of an investor to type in certain instrument compared to other investor types. So we can see here that individual investors are attracted to the green bonds issued by government. By the ownership value as well, they also have high interest preferences in the green bonds issued by the government. For sustainability bonds, we can also see that for individual investors, they have a huge amount of ownership to corporate bonds issued by the corporations. But from the percentage of outstanding, we can see that individual investors are interested in sukuk crowdfunding. This instrument, sukuk crowdfunding, is the GSS bonds instrument issued by medium and small enterprise. So it's not only the big enterprise, the big corporations, but also MSMEs now can issue GSS bonds. Okay, now let's go to the how GSS bonds issued in market is allocated to green projects. As you can see here, the proceeds of sovereign green sukuk from Indonesia market are distributed for the financing of green project in all provinces. But in general, we can see that the three biggest sectors that get allocations from GSS bonds issuance are sustainable transport, sustainable water and wastewater management, and also disaster risk reduction. The biggest one is still the sustainable transport. Well, it is justifiable because this sector, the sustainable transport sector, it is projected to be able to annually mitigate greenhouse gas emission to 7.55 million tons of CO2. As we see here, it's the highest. It provides the highest GHG mitigation compared to other sectors. Well, we can argue that renewable energy is not having that big of impact because there is still less amount of project allocated to renewable energy sectors. That's why the impact is not that significant compared to sustainable transport. But now let's see about how the issuance of GSS bonds to green projects contribute to the nation, to supporting the nationally determined contribution. So we compare with the NDC target 2030 from the energy and transportation, the renewable energy and sustainable transport. The current the current contribution is still 1.978%. So it's still low compared to the target in 2030. But what's interesting is the forestry and peatlands. Actually, this sector has the highest target among all the sectors to greenhouse gas mitigation. But even though despite a lot of allocations to these sectors, but there is still no impacts recorded related to the GSG mitigation because the government cannot reliably measure the impact of green sectors in this sector, in forestry and peatland sector, how they contribute to the nationally determined contribution, the GSG emission mitigation. So it calls for action that for this sector, this green sector related to the forestry, the government and all the issuers of GSS bonds needs to also make sure that these projects, the green projects financed in the sector, is able to measure its impact to GSG mitigation, so that we can see for certain how many mitigation that we need to achieve our target of NDC. Okay, now let's see to the future now. In 3 years, it is projected that green bonds will grow in value, in outstanding value in the market. Still projected that the market still grows, while in general, for the GSS bonds, the number is still, there is not much change to the numbers compared to the current level of GSS bonds in general. But we can expect growth from green bonds. That means there are a lot more corporations, even governments that will issue more green bonds in the future, in the next 3 years. But the question is, amidst this growth, after all this growth in the market, in the outstanding projected growth, how will this GSS bonds issuance be allocated in the market? I mean, in the green sectors. That's why we need green taxonomy. I mean, sectors in which the GSS bonds issuance will be allocated. The identified projects from government planning that will be allocated using the GSS bonds. So Climate Bonds Initiative in 2022, they identified 49 infrastructure projects for the sample of how green pipelines in Indonesia can be used for the financing. So as their identification, the highest sector with the highest amount of green pipeline is sustainable transport, because this sector needs a lot of infrastructure development, physical infrastructure development. Compared to the sector in the second position, renewable energy, the sustainable transport is still, there is still a high gap compared to renewable energy. For renewable energy, there are several subsectors. For example, hydropower, geothermal, solar, wind, and biomass. There are several subsectors for renewable energy that needs to be developed further, because the number of green pipelines related to the renewable energy is still low compared to sustainable transportation sectors. That means the government still needs to develop their green taxonomy, so that the growth of GSS bonds in the market can be used to allocate to this green taxonomy and these green pipelines, so that the growth of the market will meet the impact as well to the GSG mitigation. Okay, thank you. That's my presentation.